Can't see nothing with you in the way, Fred. Yeah, I know you're waiting for it to move, aren't you? No, you waiting for everything to move? Okay, but you can't come on the desk. No, can't come on the desk today. Not today, baby. Not today. Everything's all wet. Down you go. Go find Nico. Well, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and start. Doesn't look like anybody's, well, it shows one hiding in the background there. I don't know if that's me or if it's somebody else, but welcome if it's somebody else. I've been just sitting here for about 10 minutes playing with my distress inks, I missed one, and doing some index cards with them. I'm going to be starting to get things ready to do a children's book. I missed two of them, looks like. I better check all these guys too. I have the book taken apart already. I have sort of figured on the pages I'm going to use, but not all of them yet. So I just want to start getting some things ready that, what was I using? I was using Vintage Photo. So I want to start getting like the cards done, and I'll put them in a little container so that when I want to do something on them or embellish them, they're ready, and then I can just go from there and then get the embellishments on. So that's kind of what I was just sitting here playing with, and I thought, well, this is silly. You're sitting here playing with this. You should just, go live. You haven't been live for a while, and and this time, because it's in the evening, it is 6:25 in the evening here, and I'm always, oh no, you're just going off, and I'm just getting up and poured my coffee. So I thought, okay, well, let's go live now and we'll see what happens here. I don't know if anybody else is live right now that people may be watching, and if they are, that's okay. I mean, I know I'm not the only YouTuber out there, but I just thought, oh, well, even if nobody catches it right now, they'll catch it later. I'll put it up. Even if you're, crafting something of your own and you're just gonna watch as you craft, I do that quite often. I do that, and I have been doing it a little more frequently, and I shouldn't. I should actually be paying more attention to mine, but I'm feeling a lot better right now. Like I've had this, I don't know what it is. I mean, there's something going around here in BC where people are exhausted, and it's like there's no reason to feel that way, but everybody's just feeling that way. Like I've had a couple days where I got up in the morning and I fed the cats and I had a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden I just felt like I was exhausted, and so I'd put my head down on the couch and think, oh, I'll just lay here for a couple of minutes until it goes away. And I did that the other day, and I woke up at 5:30. Cats were a little upset because dinner's at 3, and guess who missed it? But they were sleeping right with me, so they didn't move. So when I did wake up, I did feed them right away, and like I haven't felt like eating myself, like much of anything at all either. So it's it's been weird. My girlfriend's going through the same thing, so I know it's not just me that's going through this. It's just, I think maybe we've had our weather has been, kind of changing back and forth. We'll get a little bit of rain, and then we'll get a cloudy day, and then it's so hot you can barely breathe. And the heat does everybody in. I know that it definitely does me. And I mean, when I was younger, I was like what would you call it, a beach bunny? Like, I was on the beach during the summer as often as I could be. I was even on the beach once where I was on it way too long because I ended up with 3rd-degree burns. And that wasn't smart. That was definitely not a smart thing to do. So I do have a fan that's kind of pointing over this way, so it'll sort of help to dry. I want to see if I can't get them in little places where they can, the air can kind of go through them and dry. And then, like I said, I've got like a basket down there it's sitting empty, and I noticed it, and I thought, that can't happen in my craft room. I can't have an empty basket. That's insane. All baskets and things must be full. I have quite a few of them that are full, so I just thought, I know I've got another little tiny sprayer around here, and so I looked for that like half an hour ago, finally found it, and put some water in it, and thought, well, I'm going to do a few of these in a few different colors and see what I come up with. Maybe I should, and I did not go to my Facebook page to say that I was live. I should probably do that. That is, I don't want driver update to wake up, to go back to sleep. So I'm just going to my group page here. If it turns on, come on. Oh, stop that. I don't want you up here. Go away. Let's see. Hey, everyone. And my shaky hands is like really weird, especially with my left hand. It'll shake when I'm trying to type, and especially with the left hand, it'll type, like, say A, for instance. My little finger will type the A twice, and I don't even realize it's done it until after. And then I have to go back or just click on changing it. It's very annoying. Oh, that's good. I love this color. This is called Broken China. Such a pretty color. So pretty. So I'm going to be adding, I don't know, I'll turn them into pockets and tags and all sorts of stuff, and maybe put some images on them depending on what it is I'm working on. I have my mouth just didn't want to work there. I have a Mother Goose album ready to go, and I was watching, I found this new channel that I'm absolutely in love with, and I'm gonna have to link it below for you guys. Let's see if I can find it right now and put it in the chat for you. It's oh, where are we here? YouTube. Where are you? Oops, there it is, right there. Go to her channel on another link here just so that I can get her link. Sorry about the music there. There, and here is her link. And her name is Grammy's Keepsakes, and I don't know if that'll show up in the link or not. Oh, there. See, I had put too much of it in. I always do that with links for some reason. There. Now, if you're like me and you've never really done a junk journal before, but you've watched all these other people that, you know, really know what they're doing when they're doing a junk journal, and you're still just, you know, have that, I just have that fear still of going ahead and doing something. And I know a lot of other people that I talk to have the same thing. Go watch this lady, because I watched her video, and it's junk journals. I think it's called Junk Journals for the Absolute Beginner. And I was on somebody else's stream, and they mentioned her, and I thought, oh, I've got to look that up, because I'd never heard of that channel before. Well, she's been on YouTube for quite a while. Pardon me, just needed a drink. And oh my God, I watched that video, and let me tell you, after watching it, it's like the fear is gone. She explains everything so well and she doesn't mind answering your questions. Like I watched her, and she wasn't live. It was an older video that I watched of hers that was this, how to do this junk journal. And so I sent her a couple of questions, like one of my questions, because she had used this stuff called Tyvek. Never heard of it before. And I'm like, well, where do you get Tyvek? And she said she got it at Hobby Lobby. So obviously she lives in the United States. I'm in Canada. So I thought, well, I'll go to Fabricland, because that's what we have here, and I'll see if they have it. They had no idea what I was talking about. And they said, well, maybe try Lowe's next door, and maybe they carry it. So I go to Lowe's next door to them after buying a couple things in Fabricland, because there was a few things in there that I wanted. Well, I only bought a couple things, actually, and I'll show them to you after. Oh, are we going to run out of water already, guy? Come on. And so anyway, I went to Lowe's. Oh, sure, we've got Tyvek. How much do you want? And this guy says, how much do you need? And I said, well, I only need about a meter or so. You should have seen the look on his face. And he started to laugh. And I thought, what's so damn funny? You know, like, so he takes me over to where the Tyvek is, and he goes, okay, this is what we have for Tyvek. And there was two different sized, like, bolts of it. One was 3 meters tall by 100 meters long. all rolled up on a roll. And that's the one I had to get because it was the smallest. The other one was like just over double of that. So I was like, oh my God. I said, well, I'm going to have to get started and make a lot of junk journals to make this purchase worthwhile because it cost me over $50 for it. But now I have it. Yeah, that's what she had said, that priority envelopes are made of it as well. But I mean, the only thing I've got here is I have a couple of bubble envelopes. And I'm looking at the bubble envelopes. I'm like, that's going to be a pain in the butt to try and, peel all that off of there. And I thought, well, hi, Janice, by the way. I'm sorry. To peel it off an envelope's going to be a pain in the butt. And because I have I have a ton of little golden books. And I want to do Alice in Wonderland. I've already, I've a couple months ago bought things from AliExpress, like stamps and charms. What else did I get from them? I can't remember. Oh, washi tape that was all Alice in Wonderland. And so I've got quite a few things ready to go for that one, but I really want to do that one. So I am like, I want to do something else first before I do the one I really want to do. So after watching Grammy's Keepsakes, I have no fears whatsoever about doing these now. So I have, let's see if I can wipe my hands off here and show you. I don't want to. I've been washing my hands with vinegar and water and wiping them on a cloth and a towel and everything. See, I've got Mother Goose, and she's already all taken apart and everything. And then when I went to Fabricland, I was there, and I should have taken the book cover with me because I couldn't think of, oh, is the cover a dark blue or is it a light blue? I couldn't remember. And I found this fabric and I thought, oh, I don't know. I don't think that's it, but I kind of like this fabric anyway. So I got it. But then I found this fabric in the children's stuff that was all 50% off. And it's a perfect match. And it's got little stars and stuff on it, which is kind of cool. So that's what I'll be using as the spine for the Mother Goose book. And I have, from my days of being a scrapbook teacher and whatnot, I have a whole package of brand new chipboard that I haven't even used. I think I've only used, I think I used 2 pieces out of it. And that was when I made the cat album. And I don't know if I got it. Yeah, it was the Graphic 45 Raining Cats and Dogs album. This one. And I did this when I was teaching. And I made like the whole album so that, it's what kept really bugging me is like, I made this album from scratch. Like it didn't come as a pre-made album or anything. I made the album from scratch and then added the different things. And I thought, well, why are these junk journal albums bugging me so much? Like, why are they making me crazy? Because there's nothing in here that people aren't putting in a junk journal. Like I've got tags and I've got chipboard pieces with stuff on them and whatnot, and tabs that are to hold pictures or journaling or whatever. So it was like with this book, and I've got another one that's like for a wedding. And I was like, what the heck is it about the junk journal that is really bothering me? I just couldn't figure it out. But once I watched her video, I was like, I've done that a million times before. So, you know, why am I so worried? You know, I'm not anymore, because it just seemed like there was, I don't know, it was like I don't know, it was like a magical thing or something to do a junk journal. Maybe it's just the name that gets me. I don't know, because I tend to get, when I do my journals, I tend to get a little fancy sometimes with them. I've only got 2 journals here, and there's that one that I just showed you of the cats, and then there's another one that I did for a wedding, and then the wedding never took place. So I ended up with a wedding album that, you know, I don't have any use for. So those are both going to get sold. I mean, I have a Zibbet store. I've had it for quite a long time. It's in my name, but I've never put anything in it. It's like I've just been waiting till I had enough things in to put in it to actually go ahead and do that. And, you know, then once I've got some stuff ready, then I'll get everything into the Zibbet store. And, you know, I know a lot of people in here I've seen, you know, like I've watched and been a part of and bought things from different auctions and stuff, which is kind of difficult because I'm in Canada. Everybody else seems to be in the United States. And, you know, so you buy something from the auction, and then the shipping rates are outrageous to get it to you. So it kind of keeps you from doing it, even though you want to help out the person, you know, who's trying to sell it to, like I twice bought stuff from Emily, and it cost me a lot of money just for the shipping, for the amount that I paid for the items. And then the shipping on top of it was insanely expensive. And whoops, you need some more on that side. So that's a barrier, you know. I mean, I do watch people's auctions, but I don't buy too much at auctions anymore, because it's far too expensive. And so I'm just gonna, you know, work my butt off here, and I'm gonna get enough things made. I mean, I've been doing, where is my little thing here? I've been printing lots of stuff, getting lots of stuff printed and cut out so that they can be bagged. I have like the little iced coffee cups and stuff, and mushrooms. I love these mushrooms. I mean, they would even look good on that blue. Oh yeah, even when I look over at the TV, it looks even better. Whew. So I've got a whole bunch of different types of mushrooms here, and, you know, I've got flowers cut out, and Betty Boop. She was from I had one Betty Boop here right now, but I have her in my computer. But I've been, you know, going through, these are some cards somebody just gave me, but I have been going through and printing. Like, I ran my printer out of ink, and I don't mind doing that because I have an Insta Ink printer. So as soon as my printer starts getting down to really low, then they send me new ink. So before I got to the last printing, my new ink had already arrived, and so I was fine. And but I had printed so much that I got a lot to cut out, and I haven't done any more printing since then, but I will be, especially once I start with the Mother Goose album. I'll be printing more. Let's see, where can I put you? Put you over here. What did I do with the ink? Need the ink, need the ink. So yeah, so Mother Goose will be my first one. And I've got like Peter Pan. I've got tons of them. You know, like the little golden books. I mean, wherever I go, I look for them. And I always look for them to be in excellent condition, no writing on the inside. This one actually is the only one I've bought that I didn't notice the writing at first, like when I bought it. And then when I got it home and I was flipping through it, on the inside cover it says, "This little golden book belongs to Emily." And all I could think of is, oh God, does that mean I have to send it to Emily Welda? You know, because it's got her name in it, you know. But there is a way I can cover up that. I can make like a little library tag or something and put some other small tags in it, and then it won't be such a big deal. Not a big deal now, I guess, but just to make sure that the name doesn't show, because, you know, if somebody's giving it as a gift or something, then, you know, they don't want to have somebody else's name on the inside, I'm sure. Okay. Now I'm kind of been watching to see if Colette will come in, because I received a Happy Mail from her, and I was hoping that she would come in so that I could show it while she was in here. It's really nice. She's on the little note she put on the inside of it. She says, "I just wanted to send you a few things to do, ATC cards or whatever." And she sent me a whole bunch of pretty stuff. And she had made the box that it's in. I guess she had recycled the box, I should say. She recycled the box, and it's really pretty. She did a real nice job. And she said she went to this post office and they wanted so much money for her to ship it that she sent me a note and said, "I was going to ship you a package today, but it was so expensive to ship it from here," because she's in Montreal and I'm in Victoria, BC. And she said, "But my son is going to Alberta in August, so he's going to take it with him, and he's going to mail it from Alberta, which would be cheaper." And then I guess she figured out a different way of doing it. Where are you from, Janice? You're from here too? Oh no, you sound the way you're talking with media mail and stuff. It sounds U.S. You know, but yeah, I know. Yeah, you're in Virginia. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the cost of mail has it's insane, you know. And then they're constantly going for, you know, postal increases and, you know, stuff like that. And they're wondering, you know, why people don't want to use the post office anymore. And it's just not that we don't want to, we can't afford to half the time. It's like I have to be really careful sometimes what I send out and really try to keep it as flat as possible. And, you know, there's been a couple times when I haven't, and it's, you know, cost me a fair amount of money. But I try to cram as much as I can into an envelope without it getting so thick that it won't fit through the mail thing that they have. Which reminds me, I have a card from the post office for mailing and getting things cheaper. And I asked them, how can I get one of those, so that I know that the packages aren't too thick? Oh, just go online and ask them to send you one. They'll send you one. So that's what I got to do. Get one of those sent to me. And she said, we have another lady that's like you that sends things like this. And she got one. She said now, whenever she sends her mail, it's all right on, fits right through there and doesn't cost her as much. And I thought, gotta get that then. I am going to be so yucky tomorrow, but the vinegar's helping. The vinegar and water, it's helping. I use it when I'm inking anything. I always have. Like it cleans your stamps like nothing, to have vinegar and water on your table, or, if you just are doing something and you're painting or, whatever you're doing. And gluing, especially. Oh my God. When you're gluing and you get covered in glue on your fingers, if you've got a little, like this is all I have here, just this little dish. It's got vinegar and water in it and a little baby washcloth, which are better because they're soft. And when I'm gluing, I can just wipe my fingers on that little cloth and the glue is gone. It's off my fingers and it's, and then I can carry on. Okay, I'm going to try laying you on top of this one and see what happens here. Just to see. I've got some of that wet stuff off. Try to blot the wetness to the other side. So I'm going to have to figure, a really good time to do this because, like I've been doing it my time at around, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is 3 p.m. Eastern time. But it's like I don't seem to catch people online, whether they're from the UK or the States, even in Canada. It's like my timing seems to get off or go off somehow. I know people that are like my two friends that are in Montreal and have some in Ontario and stuff. They're 3 hours ahead of me. So I don't want to go on just at the time. If I went on at 3, it's like so close to a dinner time that, or people just coming home from work and stuff, that you don't really want to do that. Yeah, see, even 1050, that's a lot. Like you guys in the States really get nailed because, I have mailed like a great big fat padded envelope and it's cost me like $5 and it was one of the big ones and it was just crammed full of stuff. And it was fat and I knew it was going to cost me extra, but it was like $5.50 or something. And you guys seem to pay double down there to what we pay up here. And it's just like, holy smokes, so it's, like on Emily's, her channel, I bought, when she had her auction, I bought, I bought this album and these 2 little packets. I think that was it. And or maybe there was something else. I can't remember, so I'm not going to say for sure. But it wasn't very much that I didn't spend much. It cost me during the auction, I think $11 for what I did buy. And then it cost $25 to ship it. And I was like, that's just totally crazy. I mean, at least ours is not quite that bad, thank goodness. But who knows? I mean, every time they go on strike, you wonder, what's going to happen now, and it's like I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, we should complain about this, start a petition. I said, you do that, they're going to go on strike again, because they were on strike here. Was it just before Christmas? That's usually when they go, just before Christmas and just before school starts, and things like that, or when government checks are supposed to come out. That's a good time too that they do their striking. And so it kind of held up a lot of stuff. I mean, all the post office here, they showed pictures of them on the news and stuff, and they had boxes and envelopes and whatnot. I mean, the postal workers that were in the sorting, they couldn't move because they had so much stuff to try and get around, and they just couldn't get around it. So it's like, your strike really wasn't worth all this. But then they were given a back to work. They were forced back to work because, it was right around the Christmas area. And those parcels were a big part of what was filling up the postal stations. So they got a back to work order. So far, nothing's happened since that. But you start complaining, the first thing that'll happen is they'll go back on strike and we'll be without mail again. And, and especially when you're, sending things all the time and then having to explain to people why it's not there. And, but mind you, here we were letting people know that, that we were in swaps with. We were letting them know, like, right away, there's a mail strike coming. We don't know exactly when it's going to hit, but it's going to hit. And as soon as it did, everybody let their swap partners know, like, it's been mailed, but I can't guarantee that you're going to get it right on time. So, yeah, it's not fun when they go out on strike. That's for darn sure. Hello, Angela. How are you? Liked your video, what you were doing the other night. Like I said, there was a tiny bit of problem with the sound. I turned my sound right up, and then I could hear you better. But if I left it where I usually have it, I could hardly hear what you were saying. So I don't know, with my YouTube, I make sure that my volume on my computer is right up. And I also can't remember if I can do it with the monitor or the webcam or not, whether you can control volume with that. But I just tried to, like, everything, my laptop is up, my TV is up, and I have speakers hooked up to my TV. And so I turned my laptop volume up to, I think, 87. And then I run it through my speakers. And then I can adjust it to, what I want. If I can't hear it, I can adjust to get what I want to hear. Let's see if that one will work. So don't have any little tags like you were doing the other night. I know I've got some someplace, but I was rearranging my craft area. Like, I cleaned my whole desk off. And then I thought, when I was really, like, after my eye surgery, I wasn't allowed to do anything. I wasn't allowed to lift anything. I couldn't bend over. I couldn't tip my head down, and it was just so frustrating. And I mean, they gave me enough, what do you want to call it, jungle juice in there, because my PTSD kicked in and my body started to shake so bad that they couldn't do the surgery. So they had to hook me up to an IV and give me this other stuff that would, help my body to calm down and get the PTSD to calm down as well. And that worked. But, they wanted me to, he wanted me to drive out to his office the following day. And then the nurse went and said to him, she's pretty doped up. I don't think she's going to be able to drive to your office tomorrow. You better do the pressure test before you leave here. He goes, oh, yeah. He says, that's true. Yeah, I'll do that. And what they do is they measure to make sure the pressure of your eyes is good. And so he did that, and he said, so now you don't have to drive out to my office tomorrow. And I said, I couldn't anyway if I wanted to. He goes, yeah, I know. So I was so thankful to have my friend Trisha pick me up and bring me home and get me into my house safely. Like, she dropped me right at my back door that I come into, and my apartment's just around the corner from that door. So it was, the cats were very glad when I got home, because I wasn't gone. Well, I guess I was gone a little extra time, because usually it only takes about, they said, an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and you're out. And that wasn't the case with me. I was there for I didn't get home till after 3 p.m. And it was after the cat's dinner time. So you can imagine what I went through when I got home. We haven't had our dinner. Where have you been? And so they got their dinner. I changed into my pajamas. I crawled straight into bed, which really threw the cats off because they're not used to that. And but they are both therapy cats, so they know if I've just gone to bed and it's daytime, something's wrong. And so as soon as they finished eating, the oldest one was up on the bed, checking me out from head to toe. And then the little one came, I don't know why I'm calling him the little one, because he's the youngest. He's not 2 yet. And he's huge. That's Fred. And Nico is 12, and he's smaller than Fred. And but Nico knew right away something was different, and that I was going to need to be looked after. So I guess he sent that message to Fred, because, Fred's kind of took to being a therapy cat quite naturally. He knows instinctively, and some of them are like that. Some of them have to be trained. Nico was trained by the mama cat we had. He saved her life, and then she trained him by teaching him all the tricks of, when I'm sick and not sick and all that kind of stuff. So China taught him. But yeah, Fred and Nico both hopped up onto the bed, and because I got in the bed first, I ended up getting some room in the bed this time. And they got on the side of the bed I would have to get out of. And both cats stretched out from my shoulders down to my ankles, so that I couldn't fall out of bed. It was the funniest thing, but it was that's all that went through my mind. It was okay, you can go to sleep. You're not going to fall out of bed. They'll make sure of it, so, because I still had that dizzy feeling going on from what they had given me. And I slept for 2 days. And the only time I got up was to go to the bathroom and to give the cats their dinner and breakfast. And I went straight back to bed. And they did the same thing. They would use the litter box right after their breakfast, and then they would come straight back into the bedroom, and they just stayed there the whole time that I was in there. They were in there. So yeah, they don't leave me at all. Once I finally came out to the couch, one of them was on the arm of the couch right by my head, and the other one was up on the cushions up above my head. So that I, if I'd have tried to go anywhere, they'd have both jumped down and it's like meowed at me and what are you doing? What do you want? Where are you going? Can we get you anything? Like, which would have been nice, if they could have made me a cup of tea and some toast or something, but they're not that well trained yet. Yesterday, my girlfriend phoned and I was in the kitchen and Fred came running into the front room like he was going to answer the phone for me. But he's not that good yet. He's good, but he's not that good. So let's try some purple ones and see. This one is called Seedless Preserves. Yeah. So let's try that. Ooh, that's nice and dark. One of these days I'm going to have to buy myself a new mat because I've sliced it like here, and on the back of it, it's just all taped together. Still works though. I keep thinking, why buy another one? This one still works. But it'll come. Okay, we're starting to. Come on, water. Okay. Let's see how we can do here. Yeah, I know. It's usually for drinking, but I'm putting it in a bottle. Yeah, so you just never mind. There, let's see how that does now. Helps if you point it in the right direction, right? Oh, this is going to be pretty, I can tell. So have you started on your, yeah, he likes mine did. I used to have like the cats that I had before Fred and Nico. I had Dallas and Jocko were the first therapy cats I had. And Jocko would stay with me on the couch at night watching TV until I was ready to turn off, and I'd say, "Want to go to bed, Jocko?" And he'd run down the hall, hop up on the bed, and he'd be sitting there waiting for me to climb in. And when I went to bed, I had to, put my arm out to the side and open my hand like this, and then he would lay his head in my hand and go to sleep. And Dallas would just curl up by my legs and go to sleep. So, I mean, I've always had cats. But Jocko was funny because all I had to say is, "Do you want to go to bed?" And he'd be running down the hall and up into the bed before I could even get there. So it was lots of fun. I love having them around. What I started to say, Angela, is have you started your Alice in Wonderland journal yet? Oops. Get rid of that. Ooh, isn't that color pretty? I love that. Can you see that? There. I'm going to flip it over here. See what it'll do. Just to pull some of the, ooh, nice. And then I'm going to put it down there again. pull this one up. Ooh, this one's almost dry. Nice. This one soaked up a fair amount here. No, not yet. No, I haven't started that one yet, but I was saying at the beginning of the stream, if you go up to the top there, I've put the link and the channel name for Grammy's Keepsakes, and she does the best video I have seen yet on starting these little golden books. I don't know if you've ever done one before, but I haven't. And no matter who I've watched, I just can't seem to grasp, you know. But I watched this lady. Her name is Lori. And all of a sudden it just clicked. And then she was talking about the stuff she was putting on the spine, and I couldn't quite catch the name. So I left her a message below because she wasn't live when I was watching her. What was the name of the stuff that you put in the middle of the spine? I didn't catch the name, and it was called Tyvek. And I thought, Tyvek. I mean, the name sounded familiar to me, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And she had said that it is what, USPS priority mail, the white stuff on the envelopes, that's what Tyvek was. And I thought, So I looked at the envelopes I had here, and I had some brown envelopes, but I only had 2 white ones, and they were bubble envelopes. And I thought, oh, that's going to be a pain in the ass trying to tear all that off of there. Sorry, Amazon or YouTube, I should not have said that. Pain in the butt. But yes, Nico, you're going to have to stay over there, buddy, okay? I'm sorry. This is all wet with inky stuff. And so anyway, I said, well, where do you, and where do you get it? Like, if you can tell me the name, and where do you get it from? So she told me it was on envelopes, but she said she had picked up some at Joann Fabrics. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, the only fabric store we have here is Fabricland. We don't have another fabric store. So I thought, well, I'll go to Fabricland and, maybe I can just pick up a meter or whatever of it and have it here. Well, talk to them in Joann Fabrics Fabricland. Nobody had any idea what the heck I was talking about. And I tried to explain it, and they said, well, maybe if you go next door to Lowe's, they'll know what you're talking about. And I went, okay. So I picked up a couple things in Fabricland that I wanted. And then I went next door to Lowe's, and I asked the cashier, I said, do you guys carry Tyvek? And she says, Tyvek. She says, I know what that is. And I said, yeah, it's the stuff they use on the outside of the white priority mail envelopes. And she goes, oh, yeah. And she yelled at one of the guys in the aisle, and she goes, where's the Tyvek? And he said, oh, it's just over here. And he says, well, just come with me, and I'll take you to it. So when we're walking over there, he says to me, how much do you need? And I said, oh, only a meter or so. Not thinking. And the look on his face was absolutely priceless. It was absolutely priceless. And so we get over to where the Tyvek is, and he went, this is the Tyvek. And they had like one that stood 3 feet tall, and they were in rolls, 100 foot or 3 feet tall and 100 feet on the roll. Yeah, they wrap houses in Tyvek now before they put the siding on. Yeah. So he said, these are the two sizes we have. Now, the other size was huge. I mean, it was, I don't think it would have even fit in my car because I have a little car. And he said, he just kind of looked at me and I went, that's it, eh? He goes, yep, that's it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll have to take the smaller one. He says, well, you could try Slag Lumber. And I said, well, where is Slag Lumber at now? And he said, they're out in Admirals Road. And I said, oh, screw that. I'm not going all the way out there. I'll just take this one. And he says, what are you going to use it for? And I said, making books. And he was like, oh. And I said, yeah, and I'm going to have to make an awful lot of them now to make this worthwhile because it cost me over $50 to get it. But I mean, I have so much of it now. I mean, 100 feet and it's 3 feet wide. Yeah, I think I'll have Tyvek for the rest of my life, I'm sure. Or who knows, I could cut it up and sell it in pieces. Okay, you look like you need just a little, where are you? Here. Just a touch more on you. That's better. Yeah, so I'll show you here in a minute after I finish this one. This I think will be the last of this color. I haven't done that many of this color yet, have I? I'll clean my table up. I've got a Mother Goose book that I've got taken apart already. These might make, the Tyvek might make interesting journal pages. Oh, I never thought of that. Oh, and I could make my own envelopes. Oh, that's a good idea. Ooh, you smart. Didn't even think of it. I was just like, oh my God, this is so much. But here, I'm just gonna wipe my hands really good, Angela, and then I'll show you. Made with Tyvek melt with, so they're on fire. You can shrink it by heating. Oh, that's good to know. So anyway, this is the Mother Goose book, and I've already got it all taken apart. Put it down here so you can see better. My camera's all off again. And I went to Fabricland because now that I knew what I needed to get as far as what Tyvek was called, and I was going to go to Fabricland and get it, I thought, well, I'll get the fabric that I want for the Mother Goose book for the spine. So everything is ready to go here. It does say Emily on the side, but I can make a little envelope to put over that. And then I couldn't remember. I should have, like I said, I should have taken the cover with me, and I didn't because I couldn't remember if it was dark blue or light blue. So first one I picked up was this, and I kept thinking, that just isn't right. Although it does look kind of cool with it, and I do like the fabric. but I didn't buy much of it. I just bought small pieces of it. And then I went and was looking through all the little kids stuff because it was all 50% off. And I found this one, and it's like, it's the perfect blue. It matches it just really well. And the little stars will go good with, you know, Mother Goose and whatnot. And then, you know, like the back is pink, so it'll still kind of go with that anyway. But I mean, I wasn't going to buy pink for the back and, you know, meet them in the middle kind of thing. And then they had thread on sale, so I picked up. They had it on sale, 3 spools for $1. No, for 99 cents. 3 spools for 99 cents. This type of thread for your sewing machine, in case you like to sew around tags and stuff. And I thought, oh, I don't have. One's an off-white and one's kind of a light brown sort of. And I thought, oh, I don't have much of that. Maybe I should, because I don't have much thread. I got the sewing machine for next to nothing when I went over to visit my stepdaughter. And then, you know, I mean, I used to be a seamstress. I used to have hordes of this stuff. Now I don't. I don't have any of it. So it's like I'm rebuilding a collection that I used to have and got rid of. And I used to have like the big spools of stuff to fit. I had a computerized sewing machine and I had a serger. So, I mean, I always used the big things of thread because I was making kids' clothes for 3 stores in Sydney and making my own clothes and my kids' clothes. And, you know, so, yeah, and then it's funny how you stop one thing, and it kind of stopped, I guess. Well, it stopped when I had my heart attack at 40, basically, is when I stopped sewing, because I was sitting at my sewing table while I was in bed and something was bothering me. And so I got up because the pain wouldn't go away. And then I just went and sat at my sewing table. And the first thing I was going to do was light a cigarette. How's that for a heart attack story? And then I just couldn't. I couldn't catch my breath. And, you know, and then I guess I must have passed out from what my husband told me, because he said he kept hearing this banging sound. And he said he knew that I had gotten up and he thought I was just going to, you know, either go sew or, you know, have a smoke or something, because I used to get up quite a lot because I've had insomnia so much my whole life. So it didn't really startle him that I had gotten up, but, you know, he said all he could hear was something going on my sewing table. Couldn't figure out what the hell it was. And so he got up because it was bothering him, and it kind of scared him because he knew I was the only person up. And he said he walked into the dining room where all my sewing stuff was, and he said it was like you were almost like a sleepwalker, but he said you were passed out and you were just sitting there banging your head up and down on the sewing table. And I went, really? I said, I don't remember that. And he goes, I don't doubt it. He said, you seem to be in a great deal of pain. And I mean, he called an ambulance immediately. And I lived 2 blocks from where the ambulance was parked. Took him 45 minutes to get to my house. And he was furious. And then they got to my house. They refused to bring the stretcher into my apartment. And that made him mad. Then they brought in a oxygen tank with no mask. So they couldn't even give me oxygen because they had the tank, but no mask. And these guys that were there with the ambulance were people we knew. They were, I mean, we talked to these people on a regular basis, like we knew them. And then when, you know, he said, look, you've got to get her to the hospital now. She's having a friggin' heart attack. And they're like, well, you know, we got to ask her these questions. He said, she can't answer anything. She's out to lunch right now. He says, I'll bring her medications to the hospital and the doctors will have them and just get her there. So finally they listened to him and they got me to the hospital. And then the doctor who was on call, I'll never forget as long as I live. And he's sitting there saying, well, it can't be a heart attack. She's too young to have a heart attack. It must be food poisoning. And I mean, that's back in 1995. And that's how they treated women when they had heart attacks, because heart attacks weren't a woman's disease. They were a man's disease. And my husband was so mad at this doctor. He's like, she's having a goddamn heart attack. Do something about it. And this doctor's like, well, we don't think so. We think it might be food poisoning. And he went, how the hell could this be food poisoning? Look at her. You know, like I was screaming in pain. And he said, this woman handles pain better than anyone I've ever known. So if she's screaming like this in pain, there's definitely something going on. And so anyway, this doctor just sat in a chair, rocking back and forth in a chair, staring at me. They sent in somebody to take my blood. It was somebody who was really new. And I was in so much agony that it scared him. Like, he was a really young guy, and it scared him that I was in so much pain. He tried the first time to take blood and he couldn't get the vein. And I mean, I was still screaming, and he thought that it was him that was doing it, which it wasn't, but it scared him even more. And he started stabbing up and down my arm, just trying to get a vein to get blood. I was black and blue from that. I'm telling you, it was insane. And but I'll never ever forget the doctor or his name. I had, because we still lived out in that area, had to take my children into the hospital emergency room for stuff, and he was the doctor on call, and I was like, get somebody else. He's not touching my kids. And he recognized me. He knew who I was. The ambulance guys knew who I was. And even though they had been friends of ours, every time they saw me, they walked across the street because they knew they had screwed up royally. But they didn't know what to say to me because of it. But, you know, just the crazy things that can go wrong, boy. And I'm telling you, that day, and I mean, that hospital has made so many mistakes with my family. My youngest twin, I had my doctor, like the twins had to go in for blood tests for something. I forget what it was for. And it was the youngest twin that had to have the blood test. And the doctor called me later in the afternoon and asked how he was doing and stuff. And I said, well, he's laying down resting right now. And he said, okay. He said, I was just, you know, wondering how he was doing. And then he called me back a little while later, and I finally I said to him, I said, what the hell's going on? I said, you've never called me like this before just because of a blood test. You know, like, what's going on? And he said, do you know where Stephen's father is? And I said, yeah, I do. Why? And he said, well, I know you're not together, but he said, I think you're going to need to get him down here. And I'm like, because he lived up at the top of the island. I lived at the bottom of the island. And I'm like, why? What's going on? He says, well, Stephen's blood test has come back and shown him to be anemic. And I went, so he needs more iron or what? And he goes, no. He said, if he was a teenage girl, that is the conclusion that, we would think of, is that, she's not getting enough iron or whatever. But it's so rare for boys to be anemic. And I said, and so you're thinking what? And he said, we think he has leukemia. Well, I nearly dropped to the floor. He was like 10 years old. And he said, I need you to bring him and Wesley back into the hospital tomorrow morning, really early, so that we can run these blood tests again. And I said, well, why Wesley? He said, because they're identical twins. And he said, if it's going to happen with one of them, it'll happen to the other one as well. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch. So I had to phone my ex-husband and say, I need you to get down to Victoria as fast as you can. I need you to be at such and such hospital by such and such a time. And he's like, what the hell's going on? And I said, the doctor has been calling me all night, and they think that Stephen might have leukemia. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, they think that he might have it, and they're making both boys have more blood tests. He says, why Wesley? Why is he having blood tests? And I said, because apparently, and I told him the whole thing. If one of them gets it, because they're identical, the other one will too. And he's like, son of a bitch. So he was up towards like Courtenay area of Vancouver Island, which is up at the top of our island. And I'm down in Victoria. So I was in Sydney at the time, which is out by our airport. And no, Nico, no, baby. No, I'm sorry. There's ink all over the place, buddy. So you can't come here. I'm so sorry. And so anyway, their father came down, and they took blood from me and him and from both the twins. And I tell you, Wesley was so mad at Stephen. And they're only a minute apart, but I still call him the oldest and the youngest. And Wesley's the oldest twin. So because he had to go through all these different tests that day, he said to Stephen, if you ever get sick again, I'll kill you first. He's like, because here he is having to have all these different tests. And then, he's not even sick. And he said, if I get sick, it's your fault. And he was really upset. But I think it was his kind of way, because it's kind of how he is still. His way of hiding fear is to, try to joke around it kind of thing, and be tough and whatnot. So that's what he was doing. Well, I mean, if he thought he was scared and upset, like, he should have thought of how Stephen was feeling, because his blood test was the one that came back with this, and Wesley hadn't even had a blood test. And so we had to sit in the hospital that whole day waiting for the results, because my doctor would not leave the lab technician's side while she ran the tests. Because he said, I mean, this kid has been healthy his whole life. He's never, ever been sick, so something's not right. And so he sat there while they ran the tests, and my ex-husband was on my back, and I was like, God damn it, I don't know what's going on. I just know what I got told. And I said, you know what, because he's terrified of needles. Like when we got married in Alberta, he had to have a blood test. And I said, well, look, I'll go first. And then you can see that there's no big deal to having the blood test, and it'll make it easier for you. Was I ever wrong? I had my blood, sat there and have my blood test, and I kept watching him. And as I'm watching him, as they're drawing my blood, he's getting whiter and whiter and whiter. I thought, oh my God, he's going to pass out. And so anyway, my blood test was over, and I got up and I said, see, no big deal. And he was still white, and he was leaning up against the door frame. And the girl said to him, okay, Mr. Bennett, your turn. And boom, he was down on the floor. He passed right out. As soon as they said it was his turn, he was gone. And it took a bunch of orderlies to get him upright again because he was 6'4". So, yeah, it was quite funny. Not to him, I'm sure, but it was to me. Just, like the nurses are like, oh my God, he's really afraid of needles. And I said, I guess so. I said, he never told me this until he got told he had to have a blood test so that we could get married. And he's like, can't do it. We can't get married. And I was like, what? He says, nope, can't do needles. I'm like, are you insane? I said, you're a great big 6'4" logger. What do you got to be afraid of? You know, and oh no, he was down hard. And it was a very small room too that he went down hard in. So it was quite the chore to get him back up and sitting in the chair. And I'm saying to the nurse, get the blood now while he's out. Because I said, once he comes to, he'll just go, you know, right back out again. Or he'll start fighting you, one or the other. So I said, do the blood test while he's out. So they did. They got the blood. And he woke up and he's like, what's going on? And I said, nothing, you're done. He goes, why do I feel so weird? And I said, because you passed out, went down on the floor. He said, I did not. And I said, and the nurse goes, oh, yes, you did. She said, it took a few of us to get you back up. And he's like, well, how come I passed out? And I said, because you let fear overtake you. And I said, you let the fear get you. And I said, but he says, well, does that mean they still have to do the blood test? And I said, oh, no, they're all done. They did it while you were out. I thought he was going to pass out again just because of that. But no, he was okay after that. But as soon as we were done there, all he wanted to do was go have a beer because he was so shook up. It's like, all right, big chicken. Yeah, he didn't like that when that story got told to his kids when they were older. And he says, I did not pass out. And I said, oh, yes, you did. I said, do we need to call the nurse in Alberta? He's like, you don't know her name. And I said, how do you know? And then the kids are like, you passed out, Dad? Even we don't do that. You know? You're so big. Why would you be scared of something like that? But, oh yeah, the fun good old days when you could torture your husband by saying, you got to go for a blood test. I wish I could do it now. Mononucleosis. Is that's like the kissing disease, right? Mononucleosis. My youngest twin, the first time he kissed a girl, he got mono. And he was 13. And I said, well, what have you been doing recently? You know, because mono, like, I mean, it's called the kissing disease, you know, for a reason. Oh, the twins didn't have it. I'm so sorry. I forgot. They had, my doctor stayed there with them while they redid the tests, and both their blood tests came back normal. And he said there was one other child who had had a blood test at exactly the same time as my son. So they checked his, and he was the other child that had the leukemia. And I mean, as relieved as I was that it was not my son's, I had this horrid feeling for the mother of the child that was now going to get the call that I got yesterday, and that he actually did have it. So, you know, because I mean, they would have not said anything to him or his mom the night before because, you know, they thought his was all fine. And then, you know, to get a phone call the next day and say, you know, have to explain all of this to them, that, you know, their son's blood test was mixed up with my son's blood test. And, you know, I know I went through hell. And what really bothered me is knowing that this other child actually did have this, and he was going, you know, his parents were going to go through the same hell I went through, only for a lot longer period of time, you know. So it was sort of, you know, bittersweet, because out in the Sydney area, it was like all the kids where we lived, all the kids went to school together and knew each other. So, but I mean, we never did know the name of the child who had it, or you know, the test came back. Anyway, I'm just sort of putting these out to show you what I have done. These are the ones I did with the, was it antique linen I think I used? Yeah, antique linen. And then there's a few more of them here. And under here. And one more here. So I did both sides of them. I didn't have to, but I thought I would, just in case, you know, one side looked better and with what I'm going to do than the other side did, you know. And, you know, it took me a little while, like, because I was sick and I was, you know, doped up and whatnot, and had my eye surgery and stuff. And I started hearing this, because I had to keep my eyes closed as much as I could and not watch TV kind of thing. And I started hearing everybody talking about iCads. And I was like, what the hell is an iCad? You know, and because I had to keep my eyes closed, I couldn't see what they were. And it finally dawned on me, it's an index card. That's what an iCad is. So I had tons of iCards, or index cards, pardon me. Got the hiccups now. And so I thought, I'm just going to sit here and play with them tonight and just play with my inks, because I haven't played with my inks for a long time, and I got many more down in there. But that's still one part of the rearranging I want to do, is to get my inks out where they're in a spot that I can get them easily and use them. Like, I'm thinking of, there's a shelf up top right above, like just right above there. And it's what my webcam is connected to. It's screwed onto that, and I can actually move the webcam up one shelf higher. And I was thinking of stacking all my inks on there. And that way, I mean, like right now I've got them in a like a square basket, and that's all that was supposed to go in there. But I find myself constantly putting things on top of them, and it's a really bad habit. And, you know, I still haven't been able to break the habit. So I thought, well, if I put all my inks up there where I can see them and get them, then maybe I won't do that anymore. I'll probably put more stuff in it. Either that, or I'll put something smaller there and just have it hold my glues or something like that, and I'll have a little more room. So these are all the ones I did tonight. So I should put them in a color bundle so that you can at least see the different colors, I guess, instead of doing what I just did. And I don't know if anything purple will go with Mother Goose. I know blue will. I know that the antique linen could go in with some of the different pages that are in there. I haven't picked out all the papers that I am going to use in the book. But I'm ready to do that now because I've got everything I need to do to get going and get one done. So I think once I get one under my belt, it'll just be no big deal to keep on going. So this is all we got done tonight. And I did one just little tag from, where's that from? A Staples tag, because it's got plastic on it, so it didn't hold any color. But it still looks kind of cool. Even just, and I can cut. I look at the TV and I go that way. I can still, like cut this off and then make the tag down here. So, but it looks okay this way. And see, there's no plastic on the back, so you can always use it that way, because there's no plastic there. Everything looks good. So anyway, well, I've been on here for about an hour and a half. So I think I am going to end this. I have two cats that are, one's down behind me and Nico's sitting right beside me right here and keeps giving me a look. Can't be for food. They've already been fed, but it could be, 15 minutes till bedtime snack. So that's what it's all about. And yeah, they'll want those exactly on time. And as soon as they get them, they go to bed. So that's kind of cool. They do know what they're about. So yeah. It's like, where are you? So anyway, I'm going to say goodnight for now. Stray wants to play now. Yeah. You know what, Angela? There's a next Saturday. There's the second eclipse is coming. Mine are feeling it today already. And Fred sat by his catnip stand. I guess about 45 minutes after he had dinner, and he sat there and he meowed and I looked to see what he wanted, and there he was sitting at the the catnip stand, and I'm like, oh no, that's not this week. And I had to look at the calendar and I was like, no, it's not, it's next Saturday. But the thing is, with cats, they, especially any cats I've ever had, they either feel the effects of it the week before, the week during, or the week after. And sometimes if you're really lucky, you get all 3 weeks at once. My cats are like that with the full moon, but when it's an eclipse, it's worse. And so Fred's already, like, he was the one to let me know. Like, he tried last night and I was like, no, I don't know. I don't think you need anything there. But tonight he was like super, super insistent. So it was like, okay, it's not this week. I'm sure it's not. And so I had to check. And yeah, it's next Saturday. So Stray's frisky this week. That's why, because of a solar eclipse that's coming. Because we had two of them. We had one on the, I think it was the 16th or 17th. There was a solar eclipse. And there's another one coming on the, is it the 28th, next Saturday? I can't remember right off the top of my head. But let's see, what is it? Nope, the 27th, next Saturday. So yeah, so Stray's going to start feeling, he'll probably start feeling the effects of it. And with it being a solar eclipse, he's going to feel it stronger than if it was just a full moon. So he may be feeling it now. So get out your catnip, girl. It's the only thing that helps around this place when the full moon comes, or especially with lunar eclipses. they get some catnip and they run and they play and tire themselves out, and then they'll nap for a little while, but then mine get up to have their bedtime snack, and back to bed they go. But so I'm sure there's going to be a couple days where, if this is only for this week and that passes after the eclipse, it'll be great, because then they'll be back to kind of normal, where they're just crazy like they normally are, doing their NASCAR laps. But when there's a full moon and an eclipse, man, I mean, the amount of NASCAR reps that they can do are crazy. And yes, Janice, they do turn left. They go all the way around the house, front room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, everything, and they go left, 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 left. So, anyway, well, have a nice night, ladies. I'm glad you both showed up. And like I said, I was hoping Colette would show up tonight, because I did get her parcel, but I'm going to hold it off until the next time I come on. It's very pretty, and it's very nice. So, the cats have internal clocks better than me. If I set an alarm clock, my cat will wake me up before that clock can go off, because they just know you're getting up to go someplace. Where you going? Can we come? But yeah, I had two that lived to be 19 years old before these guys. And then the third one that I had with them, her name was China. She was a rag doll, and my son found her. Someone had thrown out a litter of ragdoll kittens in a Esquimalt, and he happened to find her, and he went looking for other ones. He knocked on doors trying to find out if anybody knew where she belonged. Nobody did, so he brought her home. He printed up flyers and, put them up all over Esquimalt, and nobody claimed her, so he kept her. And she was so beautiful, and her fur was like rabbit fur. It was so soft, and she was the most gorgeous cat. But with him being in the Navy, he had her for 5 months, 4.5 months, and they sent him to boot camp. And so his girlfriend was supposed to be looking after him, or looking after her, and he had called her China after a wrestler. And when he was in boot camp, the girlfriend would let her go in and out of the house, kind of thing. Like, she would sit on the front steps, and then she'd go out and she'd wander the neighborhood. And she ended up having her first litter of kittens at 6 months old, which is far too young. And she had 4 kittens who were just like her. And she took them to the vet, and the vet got them good homes, because she was a vet's assistant. And yeah, mine, Nico, is black and white. He's a tuxedo dude. And then Fred, he's a orange tabby. I thought he was female when I got him, which is really rare, but her cat had 7 kittens, and there was, I think she said 2 gray ones. There was 5 that were orange tabbies and 1 gray one, or 3 gray ones. I can't remember, but there was 7 kittens anyway. And he was the last one born and the tiniest of all of them. And for some reason, she wouldn't allow me to come to the house to pick out the cat. She said her boyfriend had great big dogs, and so she didn't want people to come there and whatnot. So I had her explain some to me. And then when she told me about the one I took, she said, he's the one I love the most. She said, he's so, so tiny. He needs so much love. And she said, he was the last one born. He's the smallest out of all of them. And she said, it's going to break my heart. And I said, well, that's the one that I want then. I want the smallest one. I said, do you know if it's male or female? She goes, I don't know. It's too soon to tell. They're too tiny. I was like, okay, well, it doesn't matter anyway. I don't care. And so anyway, I got to pick him up on the 23rd of December. And he was born October 24th. And I went out and got him. And he'll be 2 years old this year. And he was so tiny. He only fit in this part of my hand. That's how tiny he was. He didn't even go up into the fingers like Nico did. Because Nico fit like the whole hand kind of thing. But Fred, it was like I could just bend my fingers and Fred fit in this part of my hand. He was so tiny. And Nico took to him right away. Like he smelt him out when he first came home, and Fred stayed really close to me because like I was the one that picked him up. I was in the car with him talking to him. So he knew my voice and, so he was okay with being near me. And then he would start to get brave to go near Nico because he had grown up with so many other cats. He wasn't used to not being around them all. So he'd go near Nico and Nico would just kind of sniff him out. And the first couple times Nico hissed at him and I went, Nico, no, Fred lives here now. And he's like, oh, so he's staying, like that kind of attitude, right? But yeah, they got along great right from the start. There was like 2 hisses from Nico. That was it. And then they were playing with each other. And I believe that, once China passed away, Nico was so lonely. And I had been looking for 2 years to try to find another cat because I knew he was lonely. And when I finally found Fred, and when I first got him, I was pretty sure it was a female. So I called him Freya Bella, and then discovered a week and a half later that no, Nico liked the name Freya because it was so close to China that he took to it. And that's how I was trying to name Fred, was give him a name that sounds enough like China that Nico will just take to him. And that's what I did when I got Nico for China. The one she was missing the most was Jocko. So I had to find a name that sounded enough like Jocko that she would kind of, the name, it would sound familiar to her. So that's how Nico became Nico, is I went through the whole alphabet, and I've done this more than once with cats. I went through the whole alphabet and was trying to get the Nico or the Jocko sound at the end. And so I'd go Bunko and all sorts of names, and he'd just ignore me. And then all of a sudden I was like, Nico, and he turned around and looked at me and I went, okay, there's your name. So it was like he knew what his name was. I just had to figure it out. So I'd say he's been Nico ever since. So, and like I said, Freya turned out to be a Fred. And I'd always said that if I got another cat, I was going to name him after my dad. I named my son, his name Wesley, after my stepdad, who I adored. His son is named Austin, which is my stepdad's last name. And now I have Frederick, the cat, who is usually called Fred, unless he's in trouble, which he was today. He got called Frederick and he just hung his head and came walking towards me. And that's my dad's middle name. So I have my dad completely covered. And he passed away in 2013. Yeah, 2013. And I was by his side for 7 days while he passed away. But I was with him through the whole Alzheimer's trip. That was awful for him. And my dad was an ex-RCMP officer, so it was very hard. And but anyway, ladies, I'm going to say good night. I need to go get some more water and empty this vinegar water before the cats try to get into it. And I hope you guys both have a good night. One of these nights I'm going to catch just the right time, or you know, to get more people in on the live, or post it earlier, you know, like, because that's something I always forget. Yeah, Stray is gorgeous. Stray is really pretty. He's a Maine Coon and he's really pretty. I love the one where you showed him making the bed with you. You should see me trying to make the bed with two of them, because they're in under everything and they will not come out. Good night, Angela. Good night, Janice. And don't forget, creative clutter is way better than idle neatness anytime. Talk to you again. Have a good night.